Okay, today I want to talk about the 10 things I hated about Scooby Doo. But actually, this transcends cartoons, and you can say it's just the 10 things I hate about a lot of shows in general, because they pretty much all use the same format. Okay, number 10. And also, these are not in any particular order. So I don't want you to think that number 9 bothers me more so than number 10. I mean, yes, it might seem like that as I go down the list, but I mean, you could really put these in any order and read them, and they would all be equally offensive. So, but let me start with number 10, okay? All right, number 10. You see the constant reruns of every episode except the first pilot episode. Um, Somehow that first pilot episode when it debuted, I always missed it. I never saw the first Scooby Doo. If you know, but if you did happen to catch it, it never explained the premise to begin with. How they met, how they became detectives, why they decided to wear the same clothes every day. It just didn't make any sense to me. Okay. Number 9. I assume you're all familiar with the cast of Scooby Doo. Stereotypes, really. Fred was, I guess, like the jock cheerleader. Sorry, the jock football player with Daphne, the cheerleader. Velma was the brainy nerd that actually pretty much solved everything, even though Fred always got the credit. They didn't address that in the cartoon, but they did when they started making the movies. Um, then there was Shaggy the hippie, and of course Scooby the talking dog. Okay, well, and I'm sorry to be reading notes off of my phone. I actually have an article that I wrote on my website, so if you'd like to read it here, it might have more in-depth detail. Number 9 was the dog had more sense than the hippie, and better manners too. Um, More sense when a mission was too dangerous and that Fred tried to bribe Scooby with those Scooby snacks, whatever those were. The dog would refuse. He would. There was always 3 Scooby snacks, and then the dog would usually break. Would you do it for 3 Scooby snacks? But one time, well, actually more than one time, but there was that one time that the hippie uh, broke down, and he got on all fours instead, and he started sniffing on the ground for clues, and the dog was walking behind the hippie. That I don't know. Yeah, that was weird. Number 8. Um, Speaking of walking, Scooby Doo walked like a dog on all fours, but he was aside from that, he was never actually seen acting like a dog. I mean, you never saw him humping anyone's leg. He never took a shit in the van. He was never scratching or licking himself. And no one in the cartoon, no matter who they are, is ever amazed or freaked out that there's a fucking talking dog, who can not only understand humans but communicate with them as well. Any other, except for maybe the other dogs, which like on occasion Scoopy Dum or something like that. But aside from that, that was it. He was just one of us. Number 7. Uh, well, Scooby Doo had a patriarchal foundation because Fred was always driving the van. You never saw Daphne drive or Velma drive. Velma was certainly the smartest. So Fred was he was in control of everything. Um, but if he was the alpha male, I have never seen an alpha male wear a neckerchief. Um, so I don't know what they were trying to say. What was he, a closet homosexual? Was he, Never mind. It doesn't matter. I don't want to read too. I mean, it is a cartoon. Let's not read too deep into that, shall we? But as an adult, you notice things that maybe there were jokes for the adults that were also slipped in there in a kid's cartoon. Because animators are famous for doing that. Walt Disney. Never mind. Okay. Um, Talking Dog number 6. Talking Dog aside, none of the other 4 characters had anything in common. I mean, best case scenario, Fred and Daphne would have been boyfriend and girlfriend. And Fred would have bought his weed from Shaggy in high school. Okay. Um, Velma was some nerd that Daphne and the other cheerleaders would have made fun of. But yet they were all together and lived in complete harmony riding around the country in that van. You never saw the girls fighting. You never saw, you know. Number 5, they wore the same fucking clothes. I know it's a cartoon, okay? And it's common, just like with the other cartoons. In fact, now that I think about it, the Dukes of Hazzard, Incredible Hulk, practically Sanford and Son, every TV show series you could ever see, Gilligan's Island. That's a great one. Now I know they were Gilligan's Island had more of a change. They wore the same clothes every day, but they had more of a wardrobe change than the people from a Golden Girl. I don't know. It's just weird. Um, and they were shipwrecked on an island. I mean, did you see that one where they had the beauty contest? Oh my god! I mean, and that ginger always looked perfect, didn't she? I mean, just the hair and the makeup. And Mary Ann could make a coconut cream pie. Where the hell did she get the whipped cream? The professor was a genius. He could build an. Did you see the one with the volcano where he threw the volcano some seaweed and some berries in a coconut shell and he threw it in the volcano and the lava started reversing backwards? That's the kind of shit I had to watch as a kid. Number 4, what the fuck is a Scooby snack? And if they were so good, why didn't Hanna-Barbera ever make a breakfast cereal called Scooby Snacks? They should have. We have Cookie Crisp. We have, what's that other shit? Fruity Cocoa Pebbles and Fruity Pebbles. Um, the monsters were too scary for its intended audience. 8-year-olds. Or, yeah, 8 to 10? 7 to 10? I don't know. I used to have nightmares. I didn't like that skeleton in the astronaut suit, that one that would shriek. Oof, that still gives me the creeps to this day. Don't come to my door dressed like that on Halloween. That's all I gotta say. I don't care how old you are. Um, Number 2. Remember when I was talking about the jokes for the adults? Here's a good one. When everybody split up into 2 groups, why was it always Velma, Shaggy, and Scooby as one group and Fred and Daphne as the other? And they never showed you what Fred and Daphne were doing now, did they? Well, I think we all know what they were doing. They were back at the van, and they weren't solving clues. Um, okay. Number 1. Here it is. You could never solve the mystery yourself, no matter how many clues they gave you beforehand. And I tried. The true idea, but the person responsible was always the same. It was always the same motive. The true identity and motive of the monster or ghost was always some crotchety old bastard exploiting a local legend to cover up his crime. You knew that's what it was, but you never knew who it was, even when you tried to follow the list of clues. And then I went back and I started watching that, with my kid, and it pissed me off because I always, well, it was Mr. Johnson from the amusement park, who's no, but that wasn't the case. It's Mr. Smith. So the clues, you could never solve the mystery from the clues they obtained. Is all I'm trying to say. So and nobody likes feeling stupid. So I guess that's my biggest gripe about the Scooby Doo cartoons in general.